As much as I love what I do, and as much as I love the people with whom I get to work, the time has come for me to retire, and I have chosen that this will be my last school year. I intend to retire at the end of June 2025. When I was in the first grade, we were assigned to draw a picture and write a story about what we wanted to be when we grew up. At the time, the only thing I could think of was to be just like my dad, who was a teacher. As the years went by, I put that idea aside because I decided I didn't want to be like my parents. I didn't want to be a teacher. That was not at all what I wanted to do. I was going to do something very important and very impressive. When I got to probably my senior year in academy, I attended college days. And all of the departments had their displays with their ideas of what you would want to take in college. And the education department included some sort of a game where if you answered the question like a teacher, a light bulb would come on. And I answered all of the questions like a teacher. So when I started college, I very directly went through in 4 years, finished all of my education, my certification, and started my career as a teacher. I was a business education teacher. I taught accounting. I taught shorthand. As the years went by, I transitioned into being a guidance counselor, got a master's degree in counseling. I worked as a registrar. I spent a number of years as an academy principal on a boarding school campus and then on a day school campus. I spent several years as the superintendent in Northern California Conference. What I discovered is that just as I had enjoyed watching the success of students in a classroom, I also enjoyed facilitating the success of teachers and of principals. So really, I'm a teacher regardless of what job I've held. It's just that my classroom population has changed over the years. Some of the values that have driven me in terms of success have to do with, first of all, my commitment to the Adventist Church. I recognized, even as a college student, that I wasn't as excited about the possibility of being an educator in a public school setting. I was really interested in helping Adventist young people navigate what it was like to be a member of the Adventist Church and be a meaningful member of the Adventist Church. In fact, when I did my student teaching in a public school setting, I very specifically sought out as my master teacher an Adventist teacher. I wanted to see what it was like to be an Adventist in that world. I have tried to live by the quote I heard years ago that we hug our children not so they will hug us in return, but so that they will hug their own children. The impact that we get to make in this work is phenomenal, and it is an honor. But there comes a time when you need to step aside and let the next generation take the lead. As I watch the next generation of leaders coming into focus, I hear many of the same conversations that I had with my colleagues 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Fundamentally, the issues that drive us in education are the same, but the realities of the world in which we live have changed dramatically. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have a computer, really. We didn't have artificial intelligence. We didn't have the traumas that have happened to many of our children and the changes that that's caused in the way we live our lives. There are stressors coming in the way we educate Adventist children that some of us didn't deal with. But fundamentally, we're still here to see how we can provide for the academic success and well-being of all of our children in an environment where they come to know Jesus. And if that's the driving force, Then we sort through those distractors and figure out how to make it about each student regardless. One of the most exciting things I've watched during my career has been a dramatic shift in the way we do school. When I first started, everything was focused on what the teacher presents, how the teacher presents it, and measuring everything in terms of the success of a teacher. We have made a real shift in looking at trying to facilitate our students into being successful citizens in a much more direct way than I think we did in previous generations. Does that mean it could be more work for the teachers? Absolutely. As long as we keep our focus on the students as the center of everything we do, there is going to be a better world out there. We are not a factory that just produces a bunch of widgets. We are an environment where we are nurturing and caring for individual students, made in the image of God, each of them special. And that's a privilege that we can't ignore, regardless of whether it's more work for us or not. What do we want them to be when they leave here? It's so much more clear when we start with who do we serve, what do we want them to know, and how will we know how to measure when they've learned that and achieved that. Adventist schools exist for the academic success and well-being of every student. We get to enhance that in an Adventist school by adding the component of introducing them to Jesus. When our teachers, our schools, the school community are focused on the success of an individual student, it's going to translate to a message to every parent, every potential parent, that their student is going to be cared for specifically in this school environment. One of the strengths of Adventist education is that we function in community. The school, the church, the home work together as far as possible. We take these children, young adults, put them in a classroom where they can be seen and known by the teacher, often because of the size of the school. And those students have the opportunity then to go as far and fast as they can, or to take extra time if needed. That's supported by parents who are involved with the school, who understand that the teachers have their children's best interest at heart. The Pacific Union Conference is blessed with really committed, dedicated educators who continue to learn, who continue to improve what they do, schools that are focused on how they can be better schools. Will these goals ever be achieved? I'm not so sure this side of heaven that they will, but we keep pointing that direction. We keep trying to be something better, as Ellen White pointed out in the book Education. We need to be something better, and that is a commitment that I see every single day in the Pacific Union.